Dangote Refinery announces production of petrol, but what is the implication of that on availability of product and its pricing? We're breaking all of that down for you tonight. And President Bola Tinubu has met with his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping, and he is seeking greater partnership, but told the Chinese president that he's on a reformation path. The president said, quote, "I am a reformer." Hello everyone, welcome. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimaloye here in Abuja. Let's begin tonight by letting you know what the President, Bola Tinubu, has been up to in faraway China. The President had met with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in Beijing, China. The Presidency today says that both leaders announced the elevation of Nigeria-China ties to that of a comprehensive strategic partnership. It says the duo agreed to build a high-level Nigeria-China community with a shared future. The president has also said that the president told the Chinese leader, quote, "We believe that President Xi has demonstrably reformed the Chinese economy, and our reform program in Nigeria is on a similar course. I am a reformer with a verifiable antecedent." End of quote. These are some of the words that's been attributed to President Bola Tinubu when he met with his Chinese counterpart earlier today. Of course, we do know that the Nigerian police force has been reacting to the issues relating to the foreigner, the British, who is now wanted by Nigerian authorities, who spoke exclusively to China's television, and he's saying that, he's ready to answer questions in a response to some of what he said by the police today. Muyiwa Adejobi, who is the spokesperson of the police, told him to come out and explain himself. Take a listen to Muyiwa Adejobi.
We went to invade that bookshop. As he asked questions, as he come out, if you have a genuine business, are you not going to ask police that what have you gone to do in my shop, in my office? Up till now, he has not shown up. We have been able to trace his private school. We have visited his school at shown up. We have interrogated staff, people working with him, as he shown up. So where is he and why is he hiding and speaking from hiding that he has no case to answer? Like I said, it is not a subject of debate or argument. We have done what we should as a responsible security institution. We have established an offense or offenses against him. And we have even declared him wanted. His accomplices have been charged to court. Let him come out.
And that's the Nigerian police force. And of course, you can see a full version of the Britain's comments and his response to the fact that he's now a fugitive here in Nigeria. He does have a family here in Nigeria. He says he frequents to the country and at least travel 5 times in and out of Nigeria in a year. And we asked him if he was a secret agent, if he was a disruptive and subversive element, what his mission in Cuba and Sudan is all about. He told us all about this yesterday exclusively on Channels Television. You can jump on our YouTube page. You will find a fuller version of about 30-minute conversation with Mr. Andrew Wine. Right here. And of course, his wife also, when Channels Television visited our home, he said she fled the home, but she's returned home. All of those videos and interviews you can see right on our YouTube page, on Channels Television YouTube page. Tonight, I'll be giving you insight, and you'll be hearing from those who know and those who have spoken about what the Dangote Refinery production of petrol makes. You see the petrol as held by Mr. Dangote himself. It looks like water, isn't it? It looks so clean, sparkling, like a water. But yes, it's not water, but he has said that it's one of the cleanest that you can find around. And he's going to be in competition with the likes of the United States and the purity of the product that is being produced out of the Dangote Refinery and petrochemicals. But so much to talk about. Not only that Dangote Refinery is producing PMS, but what does this mean for availability of the product? Don't forget what the NNPC said over the weekend. They said, no, look, we cannot bear the burden. We do know that they are owing a lot of money in the lifting of the refined product into the country. We'll be breaking these down for you tonight. You can get the political, the economic, and also the logistics aspect and the perspectives to all of these issues tonight. Just stick around with me. But first and foremost, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has emphasized the commitment of his administration in revitalizing the state's civil service up to enviable standards. The governor made this vow while delivering an address at the swearing-in ceremony of new permanent secretaries and tutors general in Akure, the state capital. According to the governor, the civil service must produce competent, accountable and transparent officials to drive government policies.
Premium we place on the public service is anchored on the fact that we consider it a major ally in actualizing our developmental agenda on all fronts.
The Minister of State for Youth Development, Mr. Ayodele Olawande, has announced the approval of President Bola Tinubu to establish a youth house in Abuja. According to the minister, this initiative is for youths to have a point of convergence in the nation's capital. At a news conference in Abuja, the minister knows that the vision of the present administration is to deliver a country that works for all Nigerians, irrespective of where they are.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in keeping to the promise to the youth agenda in his government, has given approval for the youth house in Abuja.
The People's Democratic Party has ruled out talks about merger with other political parties ahead of the 2027 general elections. The National Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Debo Ologunagba, told journalists in Abuja that the party has not conceived the idea nor had a discussion with any individual or group about forming a merger. Mr. Debo, however, confirms that some individual members in the party are talking to people about going into a merger with other political parties in order to wrestle powers from the ruling All Progressives Congress in 2027. The PDP spokesperson also responded to comments made by the FCT Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, regarding PDP governors, whom he accused of meddling into the affairs of the River State government and wanting them to steer clear.
We are welcoming to collaboration, but as we speak, if you call it merger, there's no merger talks with any political party.
And some members of the State Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress in River State have thrown their weight behind the reinstated chairman, Mr. Emeka Bekee. At a press briefing in Port Harcourt, the former acting state chairman of the party, Mr. Omiete Eferebo, insists that he has settled his differences with Mr. Bekee and is now a supporter of the chairman. He therefore warned the National Working Committee, Antonio Kocha, that any attempt to destabilize the party in the state will be resisted. And ahead of the Edo State governorship election, the network of civil society have urged the Inspector General of Police to remain neutral. The national coordinator of the organization, Mr. Victor Kalu, said this while addressing a press conference on the upcoming Edo State governorship election scheduled for September 21, 2024, alongside other members of the CSOs. Kalu appealed to the IGP, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun, to prevail upon the police authorities to immediately release the members of the State Security Corps who were arrested and detained by the Edo State Police Command.
Thank you so much, everyone. There you have it. You've been served with your political roundup story. So let's begin with perhaps the major story in the land today. We woke up to Mr. Aliko Dangote, right? The Dangote Refinery today has given the nation a news that is a cherry. And after over a year of its launch in May last year, Dangote Refinery today rolled out its first premium maltose spirit, also known as Petrol, from its 650,000 barrels per day facility. At a press conference on that facility today, the owner of the Lagos-based refinery and billionaire businessman, Mr. Aliko Dangote, declared that it is a celebration day for Nigerians, as they assure that all citizens that they are now going to have good petrol while the engines of the vehicles will last longer. It says that Nigerians will now not be having an engine issue, which a lot of us were having. It won't happen again, according to Mr. Dangote. It says the quality here will match that of anywhere in the world, US, America. We will make sure that nobody will beat us in terms of quality. Mr. Dangote, flanked by a senior official of the refinery and his daughter. Here is what he said. He spoke to Channel Television and he made an announcement also earlier before he took a tour around the facility. Take a listen to Mr. Aliko Dangote.
No limit to how far, going to, as a human being, obviously we have ambitions, and I think our own is to make sure that we make our country and Africa proud. So the journey just started, and we'll continue, we'll start. The journey has just started today, you are right. Really, even 5-6 years ago, I don't really have gray hair, but right now, it's history. Our gasoline can be, that is PMS, can be in filling stations in the next 48 hours, depending on NNPC. On PMS, what I told you, it is an arrangement which was designed and approved by Federal Executive Council, led by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. As soon as it is finalized, which he is pushing, once we finish with NNPC, it can be today, it can be tomorrow, we are ready to roll into the market.
All right, you heard Mr. Aliko Dangote. But what does this mean? Don't forget, on this program on Sunday, we discussed at length the issue of pricing, where, of course, the NNPCL came out and said we can no longer bear the burden of helping out in the lifting, because there are those on the inside who will say NNPC now incurs a lot of debt and are such that the capacity for them to support the operation and in the lifting of petrol and the products in and around the country is now being hampered. So now, let's get some insight on what this means in the entirety. Let's give it a global picture. First and foremost, don't forget, on the 29th of May 2023, President Bola Tinubu made a very categorical statement. Subsidy is gone. Yes, the reality is now dawning on us that the subsidy regime will have to go. It's gone. Now the NNPCL says that we don't have the capacity, and now it's affecting the price and the availability of the product. But what does this mean now that Dangote is now coming in on stream and the product might be in the market very soon? Where is the Port Harcourt refinery? What does this mean for the average person? Don't forget that this same product is so significant in the sense that it affected the bottom line. The inflation figures were affected. Food inflation was eventually affected. And the bottom line of our economy was also impacted. I'm being joined tonight by a public affairs analyst, Mr. Mojid Dairu. He joins us live here in Abuja. So thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's about a year, isn't it? You spoke about this particular matter and this policy.
Yes.
And now we are here today. First and foremost, what do you make of the announcement by Dangote today? They're going to be producing, and you see the quality has been displayed by Mr. Dangote. He's boasting about the purity of that product. What is your own assessment of what happened today from the Dangote Refinery and Petrochemicals?
It's a milestone for Nigeria's entrepreneurial capitalism to have seen an indigenous businessman that has made such a huge investment as to be able to create this humongous refinery, one of the largest in the world, and for a country that has been grappling with inadequacies in local refining, this is a big, a big piece of cheering news for Nigerians and Africans at large. So it is a good day for Nigeria. It's a good day for Nigerian business community. However, in announcing the quality of the product that is going to be rolled out of his facility, he left out the very important question of pricing, because most Nigerians, we are eagerly awaiting the taking off of the Dangote refinery, particularly in PMS production, because there's this general belief that a locally refined product will be far cheaper than what is being imported. And so Nigerians are eagerly waiting for the pricing template for the product that is going to be rolled out of Dangote's facility. I say this because Petrol, or PMS, is actually the major energy product that drives Nigeria's economy, because for an economy that is largely informal and dominated by SMEs, without adequate supply of power, so petrol comes in as the most utilized energy product in terms of driving the logistics of the SMEs, powering businesses. You can't emphasize the importance of PMS. And so Nigerians are waiting eagerly to see that in addition to the quality he's promised to deliver, what is going to be the pricing template. Because just as he announced the successful rolling out of PMS from the facility, the NNPC has increased his own price of PMS from 617 naira to somewhere around 900 naira, depending on where you are in the country. So people are a bit apprehensive as to what difference will it make if Dangote is going to supply the market in terms of pricing, because that is the most important issue before Nigerians today.
So you look at it, let's lay it bare.
Yes.
So what used to happen, let's imagine that petrol is corn, that is a product, agbado, that a lot of Nigerians can have access to buy. Let's imagine, let's substitute it with corn, that people roasted corn on the roadside.
Yes.
Which if you drive by, you buy, you stop by and buy. Let's imagine it was a product that only the government can roast and sell to Nigerians.
Yes.
But at some point last year, the government said we are no longer going to be the only ones selling that roasted corn. Anyone can sell it. And so the prices will be determined by if you buy your own corn from Niger State, or you buy it from Kwara State, or you buy it from Osun State, depending on how you lift it, or how you roast it, or what kind of charcoal you use in roasting it, I will determine the price, or how sweet your corn, or who the farmer who planted it. So the prices can be determined by market forces. So
yes.
The market forces can be the transportation of your corn from whichever market, the cost of the charcoal that you are using, and even the sophistication of the woman or the man that is fanning it can make it, or even the house you build in. So those could be market forces.
Yes.
I'm trying to lay it bare,
yes.
so that Nigerians, we can get a sense of the pricing of this product.
Yes.
So in essence, what has happened in Nigeria for over 20 years or so was that we had crude under the soil,
yes.
but we cannot make it into finished product, either kerosene or jet fuel or petrol
or
diesel. We have to take it outside of Nigeria, transport it by sea outside of Nigeria, then they will refine it in whatever country and bring it back to Nigeria. So your Nigerian government has been paying for the transportation in and out of the country, which is a subsidy on what we now get because it was cheaper. So that's what we call the landing cost and what eventually gets into the hands of Nigeria.
Yes.
But when the president says subsidy is gone, it means that there won't be any kind of subsidy being paid to lessen the price for Nigerians.
Yes.
So the question is, Dangote now produces petrol. But the question I ask, Dangote has been producing AGO, isn't it?
Yes.
But the price has not changed.
Yes.
What could be the reason?
Now, the price of AGO, like you rightly pointed out, has not changed because if you observe, while Dangote is producing AGO is also being imported into the country at the same time, and the prices are almost competing favorably in the market. So almost there's no difference between
the Dangote AGO
and imported
AGO.
Because of a number of factors. Number one, you must understand that marketers actually buy products from Dangote in dollar.
Really?
Not in naira.
But the president has announced that give Dangote crude, but do it in naira.
That is a new policy, so we wait to see how that will impact on the price of his products into the market. But as we speak, if you want to buy any product from Dangote Industries, be it AGO or Jet Kero, you have to open your LC in dollars for him to deliver products to you.
So is Dangote operating like a foreign company?
Well, the thing is, it's a free market enterprise, like you rightly said. It's strictly based on willing buyer, willing seller. So he's doing his own pricing mechanism in line with his investments cost. So there's nothing wrong with that. And so these are the reasons why you may not necessarily find refined products in Nigeria cheaper than imported ones. beyond freight and probably insurance. Now, you talked about the corn and government payment analogy. Now, the interesting thing to note is PMS is not corn and energy is not like food. There's nowhere in the world, there's nowhere in the developed hemisphere, any part of the developed world, where energy is traded or its price dictated by market forces. This is something fundamental we must understand as a country.
So we are getting it wrong.
Very wrong.
By saying that concept of market forces is a wrong premise.
It's completely wrong. It was on that basis that subsidy was removed in the first place. And I've argued severally that energy is so germane, so important to the economy. It is as important to the economy as air is to the living thing, without which you cannot survive for long. Energy is what keeps the economy alive before other parties can grow it, develop it, or otherwise. So energy is so important that there is a global consensus to keep the price of energy as low as possible through government intervention. And the instrument of intervention has been subsidy globally. This is because, you see, energy, there's such a thing called energy security. And if the primary responsibility of government is security and welfare of citizens, it's important to also note that energy security is an integral part of national security. And there are three components of energy security: availability on one hand, accessibility, as well as affordability. The affordability component of energy security makes it imperative that subsidy must remain a permanent feature in energy security management, something that Nigeria can never run away from. Whether you refine locally, whether you import, what matters to the ordinary Nigerian is he should be able to buy his most utilized energy product, in this case, which is PMS, at a price that is below his affordability threshold. When it goes beyond his availability threshold, it disrupts the economy, it distorts the entire ecosystem of the economy. And that was what you witnessed between May 29, 2023, and of course, today, where you've seen a consistent increase in the rate of inflation. You've seen Nigerians now struggling with the worst cost of existence crisis in living memory. That is because of that energy policy that removed security in terms of our availability from the market. So you can never float, you can never allow energy prices to be dictated by market forces. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world, not even in the United States of America, not even in Britain, not even in China. Our president is in China for Africa-China Summit. It might interest our president to know that China spends as much as $130 billion annually to subsidize all range of energy products and services, including renewables and fossil fuel derivatives. It's the same thing with Russia. It's the same thing with the European Union zone. It's the same thing with the United States of America.
But, I mean, some of these institutions are advising Nigeria to remove subsidy on energy.
And
we're moved.
The question we should ask these institutions is, where in the Western world is energy not subsidized? That's the question we should ask them. Because energy subsidy is an investment in productivity. It's an investment in the economic productivity of any country, without which your economy is tanked. There is no remedy, no amount of palliative, no amount of cosmetic effort can cushion the effect of the damages that an energy insecure economy can suffer. It's like an irreparable damage.
So removal of subsidy is a brainless idea. As far as a welfareist,
it shouldn't have been contemplated in the first place.
What about, we operate it's a capitalist economy.
Even in the headquarters of capitalism, the United States of America, for example, spends collectively between it and the 50 states of the United States more than $100 billion subsidizing fossil fuel energy. And this is in addition to the fact that food is also not priced according to dictates of market forces. Anywhere in some of these jurisdictions too, food is heavily subsidized. But in Nigeria, food is not subsidized. Food is left to the ravages of market forces. And then you also now remove subsidy on petrol. That is why you're having the widespread hunger in the land. And the reason why energy must be subsidized is because, given its fundamental importance to the economy, if you don't have affordable energy to produce, it will lead to economic crisis that can create social unrest. So the protest you saw, for example, a few weeks ago, is as a result of the impact of energy insecurity in Nigeria arising from the subsidy on petrol. And this was why this government, despite their grandstanding in public that they have removed subsidy, had to restore subsidy through NNPCs on the recovery by August of last year. Because all of the promises of free market enterprise that would drive competition and drive prices down did not happen. Prices kept rising as much as 300 to 400% continuously.
So the fact was that the government, through the NNPCL, because the PIA has handicapped the government from participating actively in the pricing and in the control of the product.
That aspect of the PIA must either be amended or jettisoned. I don't know.
So it doesn't make economic sense for any government, no matter what kind of economy that you are running,
no matter
for you to hands off.
You can't play with energy. For year 2023, for example, Germany implemented a subsidy on electricity, for example. So it's almost utilized energy products, electricity. You know, it depends on the country. Some countries use more of electricity than petrol, for example. So Germany, for example, utilizes more of electricity to drive homes and industries. It implemented an 85 billion euro subsidy spending in order to make its industries competitive with China and some other Asian tigers. And the implication of this huge spending was that it was going to take up 75% of the cost of electricity for homes and industries in the year 2023. 75%.
But what you said about a year ago, in your mind when you're watching it back now, you feel like a prophet, isn't it?
Well, I think it's a matter of common sense. And I was at loss as to how an entire country was goaded and made to believe that subsidy on PMS was something that was so bad that it had to go. I mean, it's still...
But what about the racketeering, the corruption, the high-handedness in the marketplace that has impoverished more Nigerians? And there are those who believe, and this is not a debate that started just yesterday. It's been years coming, that this idea that there is a devil in, there is an evil in the details, and there is an evil also in the activities of a few cabals who are spending the subsidy rather than it benefiting the average person.
Whenever the government wants to abdicate certain kind of responsibilities, they bring up some of these issues and pretend not to be in a position to fight corruption where they're supposed to fight it. The government has a responsibility, constitutionally speaking, in line with the oath of office of those that actually sought to uphold the Constitution, to fight and defeat corruption in every aspect of our national lives, including procurement processes, including in spending for subsidy. When the government tells you it cannot continue subsidy because of corruption, it means you admitted that the cancer or the monster of corruption has defeated the state. We cannot allow corruption to defeat us. And in any case, there is corruption in every aspect of our public life in Nigeria today. It's a problem we are grappling with. And now we have two institutions fighting corruption in addition to the Nigerian police force. But why was the government so particular about subsidy? And I'll tell you why today. It was because that was the only spending of government. As corrupt as it was still the only government spending that got to the people really. Because it must always reflect at the pump. And so we could measure such spendings. And again, I talked about smuggling. You see, when you say you cannot subsidize energy for your citizens because of smuggling, the question will now be, how can you secure such a country if tankers can leave your country without being detected or stopped? Then how can you prevent light arms and small weapons from coming to your country to fuel insecurity? It means you have accepted that you have failed your core responsibility to secure every inch of a country you swore to actually secure. These are not excuses.
So your argument is directly opposite to what major economists have said about the impact of subsidy
1 year later we can
and why
see,
it has to go.
1 year later we can see most of the people who held this opinion have no alternative to the problem that their opinion has cost Nigeria. Because in the first place, when they were making that, that position for subsidy removal, they completely forgot about the concept of energy security, which entails affordability. And affordability simply means when the factors of production of energy products and services will shoot up the price beyond affordability threshold. Every country has its own affordability threshold. So if for a country that is still earning 30,000 naira as minimum wage, 190 naira per litre was already beyond that affordability threshold. Not to talk of 700 naira per litre.
So, but I mean, at some point, it was obvious that Nigeria was subsidizing fuel for Cameroon, for Chad, for Niger
that
Republic.
is not the fault of the citizens of Nigeria. It is the responsibility of government to secure its own borders. You have appointed people to patrol your borders, to ensure border security. If they are failing in their duty, you should wield the big stick. I mean, that is your responsibility as commander-in-chief.
What one would think that is a good news today is that Dangote is producing locally. But from your analysis, it may not be entirely the true picture.
It is not Uhuru, because in addition to availability, what Dangote can guarantee us is availability. But affordability is the major issue, not just availability.
Yeah.
As we speak, the price of petrol as currently is beyond the affordability threshold of Nigerians. And it's going to make the economy suffer so much that no amount of palliatives can remedy it. It's not possible.
All right, let's take a pause. When we come back from the break, everyone, Seun Oworu is the managing director of Capital Field Energy. He will also be joining in the conversation. Where do we go from here as to the extent of the impact of Dangote Refinery production of PMS, and whether or not it's good news or bad news for Nigeria? We'll be hearing more. Brace up, everyone. Some of the major conversation just got started. But all right, after this break, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. And of course, it just came like a very cherry news, but there are implications to that news, to availability and the costing or the pricing of the product. When Dangote Refinery came out today to announce that it's now producing petroleum motor spirit, petrol. But we're, of course, government officials, friends of Mr. Dangote, Nigerians alike, are already reacting to that news. We saw what Mr. Femi Otedola has been saying about depot and those who are going to be lifting. He's gotten some advice for them, a bit harsh. And the Minister of Petroleum, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Anikin Lokpobri, is also been speaking. And it's quite interesting how there is an angle which I think it's also very interesting for us to note in what the minister has said. And is the fact that, yes, it's a private sector, but the government needs to provide an environment for the private sector to thrive. And that's why I found this really very interesting. Take a listen to what the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Anikin Lokpobri, said today. He says, quote, "I congratulate Dangote Refinery on its successful in-country refining of premium motor spirit, PMS." He went further to say that this milestone achieved with unwavering government support is expected to significantly reduce Nigeria's dependence on imported petroleum products and strengthen our energy security. Under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, this administration remains committed to enhancing local refining capacity and ensuring energy security for all Nigerians. Reaffirm our dedication to supporting initiatives that drive the nation towards self-sufficiency in petroleum refining. That's the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Anikin Lokpobri. Of course, Mr. Majid, the Public Affairs Analyst, has been speaking with us. Let me bring in another expert into this conversation. Mr. Seun Oworu is the Managing Director of Capital Field Energy. He joins us virtually live from Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Oworu, for joining us tonight.
Sure, and have a good evening to you.
Good evening. How much of a good news is what has come out of Dangote is not only for the energy market, but for Nigerian economy?
Well, the news from the Dangote Refinery of starting the refining premium metal spirits as petrol is it's a very welcome idea and good for the economy and good for consumers at large. And that's one thing we've been waiting for, at least, to have that a local refined petrol and distribute the same. But one aspect which we, just like the other speaker said, we need to look at is the pricing. Yes, just as the other speaker noted, they've not come out to say what the pricing mechanism will be. But one thing, just as alluded to by the other speaker, is for it had to be market reflective, and then for Dangote to even come into the markets, one thing has to happen, which is the full deregulation of the market, and which is why other refineries, even before Dangote, the likes of Walter Smith and Ardell, have refrained from refining petrol in country, because it is so largely subsidized by the government, and nobody is going to invest billions of dollars and come and sell products at a loss, because of a rough calculation, landing costs is about, it's based on what crude oil price is, about 1,100 naira per liter. And just before this announcement, as of yesterday, NNPC filling stations in Lagos environments were still selling at 568 naira per liter. So meaning governments were still covering up onto about 50% of the actual costs. So that's one thing we need to think about. However, there might be a bit of a reprieve in terms of freight cost, which the Dangote refinery would eradicate. And to be honest, between you and I, that's what that freight cost is going to defray won't be more than about 50 or 60 naira per liter.
Wow, interesting. So, I mean, you do not think that the Dangote, the production of PMS by Dangote will make any significant difference, isn't it, on the pricing, first and foremost?
Well, just like I said, at the most, it'll be shaving off about anything between about 50 to 70 naira per liter, which the only difference there is the freight cost. Because the major component of what goes into that is the crude oil price. And crude oil price is, like you know, it's open security, it's denominated in dollars. And then by the time you work out based on the exchange rates, what the landing cost is, just as I've said, is about 1,100. Now, if you defray what the freight cost of bringing in the product from Europe, Rotterdam, or the rest of the places where they come from right now into the country, that's you're only shaving off about 50 to 60 naira per liter, while other factors of production that goes into it still remains constant and has not changed.
So, I mean, if Dangote, according to the order of President Bola Tinubu, should be given crude in naira, and I asked my Mr. Dairo earlier that AGO, price of AGO hasn't changed. So availability is a major problem, because from what NNPC had said over the weekend, it does look like they are tired and they can no longer bear the burden of meeting the demands of the operational cost of the product, and that's what we're seeing significantly impacting on the availability of the product. But yes, we might have the product, 650,000 barrels per day. That is the capacity of the Dangote refinery, and there are those who will say that that's just about half or so of our consumption per day, isn't it? I'm not sure if my figures are right now. But if that alone is if we get serviced by what Dangote is churning out on a daily basis, availability may not be a major problem, but the pricing will still be the problem, isn't it? But what can government do anyways?
Yes, so I mean, just as you mentioned, the president has directed that crude oil be sold to Dangote in naira. And again, so to my mind, that's another form of subsidy, because I would expect there to be a pricing formula between and a handshake between NNPC and Dangote Refinery to say, okay, if we're selling crude, because we're selling crude to you in naira, obviously you have to now sell premium motor spirit, which is petrol, to Nigerians also in naira, and then that defrays the whole FX component of that pricing mechanism, and then maybe somewhere along that line, we should also be able to have some form of savings and a reduced pricing be slightly below the market reflective pricing, having taken out that component of foreign exchange in the equation. Because that's also another component apart from the feedstock itself of crude oil. That's also another component that drives that pricing and then the landing costs at market value.
Is this argument and the back and forth? Should marketers locally refuse to lift from Dangote? Do you see that kind of situation happening?
I honestly don't see a situation where that would happen, because I mean, like you said, it's a market driven industry, and if the prices are competitive, I don't see any reason why marketers would refuse to lift from Dangote Refinery. So it's just like you said, and also to buttress the point why there won't be any significant difference in prices. Dangote has been churning out diesel and aviation fuel, and then some marketers are still importing the same products, and somewhere in that mix. At some point, when Dangote came into the market, if you recall, came into the market with a slightly reduced price than imports, a lot of marketers moved to Dangote and they were buying from Dangote. And at a point where also the dynamics of pricing changed, such that it was slightly cheaper to even import than also buy from the refinery. There was a switch back to importation. So basically, it's a pricing dynamics and market-driven issues, such that wherever players see where they can make a little margin or make any savings in terms of landing the products, that's where they will yield to.
You are an expert in this area. Give us a sense, because in all of these mix, and Mr. Dairu has been talking about the security of the product, because it's what affects the bottom line of an average citizen, the security of it, the economics of it. Going forward, you look at these old mix and what we need to do in terms of reformation and the revolution of the entire value chain. I know that some depot might have a problem. The more we have local production, the more these depot, because they are the interchange or the intermediary between the foreign liftings or the landing from the foreign lifting and the local market, that might be displaced at some point. And I know that there will be some pushbacks also from those who might be displaced in the value chain going forward. The more your local production goes up, the more some people might be displaced in the value chain. But what does the government need to do to ensure that the lives of the average citizen and their plight are really catered for, such that the hardship on the average citizen is no longer stretched?
Well, just as the previous speaker said, with respect to energy and petroleum products, in sync with energy security, one thing is affordability, and then the other thing is availability. So what we've seen played out in the last couple of weeks, and just as alluded to, right, I'm sure you saw the publication where NNPC said they're owing importers about $6 billion, and that's what has, to my mind, that's what has really affected the supply situation. Now, just as I said, up until yesterday, filling stations in Lagos were selling at 568 naira, and then the landing cost of this same product is at 1,100, meaning government over the past couple of months have been defraying 50% of that cost. And now it now comes to the point of affordability. So what, to my mind, has played out is they've gotten to a point where they can no longer afford that huge differential of covering 50%. And then don't forget that we're talking about a daily consumption of about, that's gone back to 60 million liters. You'll recall May 29 when the president first yanked off subsidy, and then it was a market price reflective. We saw, and I'm sure you recall that, we saw our daily consumption drop from about 60 million liters up to about 30 million liters or even below. And then that was because there was now no more arbitrage opportunity for those that were obviously taking the product out to supply the neighboring countries, just as you also mentioned when you're speaking to the other speaker. Now, what has happened is, due to the increase in the major feedstock of this product, which is crude oil, that price has widened again, and then there's now that opportunity again. We're selling, like I said, we're selling at 568 in Lagos. If you go to the neighboring countries, they're selling about 1,300, 1,400. So that has created another arbitrage opportunity for some of these guys. And then we've seen our daily consumption rise again from about 30 back to the 60 million liters that it was heated to before this thing was removed. So again, back to the issue of affordability, about 550 naira per liter on 60 million liters daily subsidy, which is not even locally consumed by Nigerians, is a lot, and it's only a matter of time before, just as it has happened now, before it now becomes no longer affordable. And then the price we see today is about 855 in Lagos, I think in Abuja and somewhere up country, between 897 and 900. Even with this price that has been announced today, based on the landing cost of giving of about 1,100 naira, it means the government is still covering about 200 naira per liter. How long they can now afford that, again, is subject to debate. But what is clear now is for them to continue to be able to make these products available, then that pricing dynamics needs to change, because they have to be able to pay for these cargoes.
Let's take a breather, and everyone. I will also be bringing back Mr. Dairo, because what is important, and I know that as a price goes up, Labour might be responding, and we perhaps are having a feeling that they might be agitating too on the fact that, no, this is not what we are bargaining for. Now this product price will go up, because the more the price of this commodity goes up, it will affect the bottom line of our economy, because this product is at the center of our economy in any ways. It's one major driver. We'll be back after this break, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. Home stretch now we are in. Mr. Dairo, let me bring you back to the conversation. And I know Labour will be itching now in the last few days that the prices are going up. The price has sustainably been maintained consistently for the past month or almost a year.
Yes.
But now in the last few days, affordability has been impacted, pricing has been impacted. Where do we go from here?
It's going to make the economic situation in the country worse off. And that is why government must understand that the cost of existence crisis we are experiencing today is as a result of the removal of subsidy on petrol, fundamentally. And it must put every mechanism in place to return us to a semblance of affordability in energy security as it pertains to the price of PMS. So now that Dangote is going to roll out products, I expect that the government will sit down with Dangote and put on the table a number of measures that would lower the price at the pump. It's a key responsibility of government. And this is not for the NNPC to do alone. And ordinarily, the responsibility for subsidy should have been borne by the NNPC. It's because there's an unwillingness on the part of the executive that has actually doubled down on this policy to say it was a courageous thing to do.
But is the NNPC looking like a transparent, and is it responsible though? A company?
We also need to look at some of the concerns in the public space about the transparency and the efficiency of an NPC.
And even the leadership and even the messaging and the communication coming from that company, does it look like a company that is sensitive to the fact that they are at the heart of the Nigerian economy?
All I can say is, as long as those that are managing an NPC are still keeping their jobs, it means they are serving satisfactorily as far as the president and commander-in-chief is concerned. So I think we need to redirect this to the president himself.
Who is the petroleum minister?
Incidentally, who's also the president of the country. It is his responsibility to make sure that the NNPC works well, in line with international best practices. Some of the most successful and profitable oil companies in the world are owned by states. Saudi Aramco, for example, of Saudi Arabia. You look at Petrobras of Brazil, Petronas of Malaysia, name it, Sino Oil of China. These are state-owned enterprises. They are profitable, and they've been able to provide energy security for their citizens.
And effectively functional.
Very effective. They are among some of the most valuable companies in the world.
Unfortunately, our own NNPCL cannot maintain or manage 4 refineries, and the promises of fixing the Port Harcourt refinery, they
has
keep
been shifted to September
every day.
The fact that
nothing has happened to anyone.
The fact that somebody is still keeping his job or her job, despite some of these apparent failures, it means that they are serving at the pleasure of the president and is satisfied with what they are doing. So I think we need to redirect this advocacy to the presidency itself to say, look, we as citizens are not satisfied, and we demand of you to take up that key responsibility of providing us with energy security, which is an integral part of national security, which you swore to uphold and implement for us as citizens when you assumed office.
And I mean, I imagine that the president has good intentions by all means, but again, the fact that these are difficult periods.
The methodology, the policies he's adopted are not one that shows exactly. You know, you need to match intentions with actions.
All right.
And so, in the interim, to put it simply, the federal government will need to subsidize Dangote if we are to have any form of reprieve in terms of affordability of his products.
Right.
Otherwise, we are all cooked.
I wish we're not cooked, but then it does look like the reality. Your final word, Mr. Oworu, just in 30 seconds. Where do we go from here?
Okay, yeah, so just as Mr. Dairu has said, government needs to still play a role in terms for this product to continue to be affordable to Nigerians. And I think that's what has informed the president's directive for crude oil to be sold to Dangote in Naira. Because if things were to take their normal course and crude oil is sold to Dangote in dollars, like I said, Dangote there's no way he can sell below like 1,050 naira or 1,060 naira. And then again, that brings us back to the subject of affordability. Now they've taken it up to 855. How far they can go with that, we don't know. But what I think has happened is another form of subsidy by government agreeing to sell, which has also the foreign exchange that government would have earned by selling ideally in dollars, they're now selling in Naira. And so just like Mr. Daira said, they now need to sit down with Dangote to say, okay, and that's where another form of subsidy is going to come in to say, we're selling to you in Naira. And to my mind, that's obviously a way to also bring down that cost. Having taken care of one of the major components of that pricing mechanism, which is the FX cost, that's been taken care of. We're selling to you in Naira. We also have to sell to Nigerians in Naira. And that, to my mind, will bring down the cost and make it somewhat affordable to Nigerians, while NNPC or the government is also being able to pay for this product, because affordability is one issue and then availability is another.
So we need to go. We're totally out of time. Thank you so much, Mr. Oworu, who is the MD, Capital Fields Energy. Mr. Dairu Majid is a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much, gentlemen. That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kibale. Bye-bye.